Let me bring in Admiral Joe Sestak, former congressman from Pennsylvania. Admiral, always a pleasure to have you with us.
Good to be with you.
Your take, was Putin forced into doing this? Did he have a lot of options left?
Well, I think Putin feels he probably accomplished what he wanted to, and that is he doesn't want a strong neighbor. He wants a very weak vassal state, and frankly, Ed, that's what he has. He's dismembered parts of Ukraine. But I think the sanctions had a part, but I also think if it hadn't been for the plummeting of the gasoline prices, you may not see Putin saying, I've done enough. I think for right now, we've got to look at this, and I would actually say even apply more sanctions against this thug.
So this is economically driven as far as Putin is concerned?
Without a question. I think the concern I also have is some of our sanctions have loopholes in them. Look, if a bank is 50% owned by some of the cronies of Putin, all they have to do is sell a few of the shares, get it below 50%, and they have got a loophole. They're no longer under sanctions. So I think that this man, Putin, has invaded a sovereign country. He should not be let off the hook at all by either the European Union or by us.
So isn't it interesting how the Republicans want ground troops against ISIS, but they aren't willing to really push to the firewall to make sure that we arm the Ukrainians? What do you make of that?
Well, my concern about Congress is that they may not understand modern warfare. This isn't like the old days, Vietnam era, where it's just conventional force against conventional force. I mean, ISIS is an asymmetric threat, and I wonder how many in Congress really understand that it's not talking tough, it's understanding modern warfare. I think to put ground troops, like the President said we're not going to do, the types of companies, battalions, brigades into Syria or Iraq is foolish. We can do this with the right coalition and doing it from the air, and perhaps a special force that can take a laser, point it at a specific target, and have that laser be appropriately guided there. We don't want to give that laser to a Sunni who might turn it on a Shia, even though they're fighting on the same side in Iraq. So this is the smart way to do it.
Okay, so you believe that the president does have a strategy, that this is a game plan that he has been following all along in dealing both what's going on with the Russians, the separatists, and also what's dealing with ISIS?
Ed, I think that, as you and I have had discussions the last three years, that he has been slow to respond to ISIS, and yet when he has, it's been the right strategy. A year ago, they were 60 miles from Baghdad. I believe, however, that now we've got the right strategy. It's a little harder to do because if we had given arms to those more moderate rebels 3 years ago, we might not be in a tough a situation as we are. But right now, to have the Arabs, who have finally seen one of their own, a Jordanian pilot burned alive in a cage, all of a sudden says, wait a moment, they're against us. And so I think mobilizing them with us from the air, with some select special forces to do the targeting and things like that, is the right strategy. It'd be foolish to put in companies, brigades, and think that we're going to do another occupation of either Iraq or Syria.
And Joe, back to the Russian situation. Do you think this ceasefire will last? What would Putin's motivation be to break the ceasefire?
I think his motivation would be if Ukraine begins to ever look like it's going to become more Western leading and to be much more sovereign and to be much more willing to be integrated into the West. And yet, that's exactly what we want. And this is an economic warfare situation. You're right. It's the economy that kind of says to Putin, wait a moment here. I've said before that they're nothing but a gas station. And now their oil fields are running out. In Western Siberia, they need our technology to develop new oil fields in the east. We've got to tighten down on this. And I believe we have to be able to demonstrate by putting a presence in, like, the Baltics, that we stand by Article 5 of NATO, that we will stand strong against such a man who will violate someone other country's sovereignty.
All right. Former Congressman Joe Sestak, former Admiral, great to have you with us tonight, sir. I appreciate it. Let's turn